A statement, repeated, begins to feel more true. This isn't a failure of character, but a feature of cognition. It's called the illusory truth effect, and your brain is performing it right now, without your permission. When you encounter information, your brain assesses it for truthfulness. But one of the shortcuts it uses is processing fluency. Essentially, if an idea is easy for your brain to process, it gets a little tag that says, "feels true." Repetition is the ultimate fluency hack. Each time you hear a claim, the neural pathway for processing it becomes slightly more efficient. Your brain mistakes this ease of processing for a sign of the statement's validity. It's not thinking, it's recognizing. You might assume that knowing a statement is false would make you immune. The research suggests otherwise. In studies, participants were explicitly told that certain statements were false. Then, over time, those same false statements were repeated among a mix of other true and false items. When tested later, guess what happened? The repeated, known falsehoods were rated as significantly more true than new falsehoods. Your conscious knowledge that something is a lie does not fully protect your brain from the feeling of truth generated by repetition. The initial false tag you applied to the memory simply fades faster than the fluency you've built up. Now, imagine trying to solve a difficult puzzle while music is blasting and lights are flashing. Your ability to concentrate plummets. This is cognitive load. Your brain's capacity for deep, critical thought is finite. The modern world is a cognitive load machine, constantly demanding your attention with notifications, alerts, and an endless stream of information. When your analytical mind, what psychologist Daniel Kahneman calls System 2, is occupied with other tasks, it can't effectively police the information coming in. This leaves the gate open for System 1, your fast, intuitive, and non-critical thinking, which is highly susceptible to the fluency of repeated messages. There is another, stranger phenomenon that happens over time. You read an outlandish article from a source you know is completely untrustworthy. You rightly dismiss the information. But weeks or months later, the claim itself bubbles up from your memory. You remember the what, but not the where from. This is the sleeper effect. The message has become an orphan, detached from its unreliable parent. Research into this began as far back as World War II, when psychologists studying propaganda films noticed soldiers' opinions sometimes shifted towards the film's message long after they had seen it, even if they initially discredited it. The mechanism at play is often source amnesia. Our brains are remarkably efficient, but not always accurate. They are optimized to remember information that might be useful for survival, but remembering the precise source of every fact is metabolically expensive. The memory of the message itself and the memory of its source are stored differently. According to the dissociation model, the memory of the discounting cue, the fact that the source was bad, decays more rapidly than the memory of the message. Imagine two trails in the woods. The main trail, the message, stays relatively clear. The smaller side trail, the source, gets overgrown and disappears much faster. Eventually, all you're left with is the main trail, with no memory of how you got there. This entire process isn't just about what you believe is true, but also about what you prefer. The mere exposure effect, demonstrated by Robert Zions, shows that people develop a preference for things merely because they are familiar with them. In his classic experiments, people were shown abstract symbols that looked like Chinese characters. They couldn't read them, they had no meaning. Yet the more times a person saw a specific character, the more they reported liking it when asked to rate them later. They had no conscious reason for their preference. The familiarity itself created the positive feeling. It felt safe. It felt known. Propaganda exploits this by turning exposure into acceptance. An idea that seems radical or outrageous at first can be normalized through sheer repetition in the media environment. It doesn't have to be presented as true. It can be debated, analyzed, or even condemned. The specific context matters less than its simple, repeated presence. This familiarity bleeds into a sense of normalcy, and then into legitimacy. It becomes part of the furniture of the public discourse. Once an idea is familiar, it no longer triggers the same alarm bells. It ceases to be a foreign invader and becomes just another part of the landscape, making it easier to accept, or at least harder to viscerally reject.
Monotony has grown fast. Nearly 2,700 people have watched in the last few weeks, yet less than 0.03% are subscribed. It would mean a lot if you joined by hitting subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.